What's up, heroes? It's your boy Winson here from Art Heroes, and today we'll be learning how to create this realistic portrait of an expressive smiling girl using ZBrush that was created by our instructor assistant, Youssef. So without further ado, there's lots to break down in this one, so let's get started. The first consideration to think about is the differences between male and female skulls. With extreme realistic expressions, we need to understand the general female face structure. Here are Youssef's guide on important differentiators between male and female skulls. The forehead frontal bone is more protruding, and the orbital bone is more rounded in female skulls. Women also have more V-shaped chins, while the male is usually more U-shaped. The temporal bone is also smoother, and the angle of the mandible is much wider than the male counterpart. Female cheekbones are also more full and prominent than males. And the superciliary arches protrude more in male skulls. A character art instructor I had in college used to call it the bean. An easy way to remember this. You can tell from the reference image how extreme and realistic this expression is. So let's break down the muscles that are involved in a smile. So let's start with the orbicularis oculi. This muscle is responsible for raising the cheek and controlling the eyelid. The lower eyelids here are raised upward, causing the opening of the eye to be much smaller than the neutral position. The fat pads above the eyes are moving forward to cover more of the upper eyelids. And the cheeks rise up, causing the skin below the lower eyelid to wrinkle into a baggier form. This is a main muscle that is in charge of Action Unit 6. The next muscle is the zygomaticus major. It's responsible for pulling the corner of the lips from the sides. And in facial action coding, this is known as Action Unit 12. With those two action units, we will have our smile now, but the mouth would be closed. So the next step is splitting the lips part, which is known as Action Unit 25. And we'll need to also drop the jaw, which would be Action Unit 26. Alright, let's begin blocking out the face. Youssef starts with a ZBrush head plane that you can find in the light box. It's good to start with the base sometimes because it just saves you a lot of time. It's important to start by blocking out facial features first. He adds some volume to the cheekbones because it's one of the main features of a female head. The main focus of this earlier stage is to push, pull, and build forms. You'll notice that Youssef is working at a low resolution. This is very important at this early stage to have better control over your bigger forms. He also generally avoids using the smooth brush as much as possible because of how destructive it is for those forms that you're trying to build. Just like a sketchbook, try not to erase the details and the sketch lines, and just build off your strokes. Using a brush to fill in these eyes because Youssef likes to keep them closed for now and then open them later with a technique. He uses a dam standard here to mark important landmarks of the face, like the orbital bone, the eyelid, where the mouth is located, the chin, defining where your malar fat pads will go. For the nose, he blocked out what the cartilage looks like and then built up the nostrils and dug in the nose opening. At this stage, he goes up a subdivision level to add a little more detail. The thing to note is to leave space in the mouth area for the teeth. The lips will have a rounded shape that rolls around the teeth. When you're shaping the lips, it's important to make sure the upper lip is protruding more than the lower one. At this stage, it's time to check the positions. Make sure the corner of the mouth is lined up with the position of the eyes from the side view. Then adjust accordingly. Make sure in 3/4 view that the silhouette of the cheekbone is visible and prominent. It's time to place some eyeballs in. The size of the eyeball should be slightly smaller than the orbital bone. So append a sphere and start positioning it accordingly. Lots of artists struggle with opening the eyes, but here's a technique that he uses to make it quick and easy. He masks the upper eyelids and then inverts the selection, and then carefully pulls the upper eyelid. Then start digging in using a damp standard brush to find your inner eyeball. You might have to play around with the position of your eye here, but it's good to do it early before you commit to any more detail. After that, you can start carefully shaping the upper and lower eyelids. Make sure the upper eyelid is protruding out more than the lower and that they both have some thickness. At this point, it's also helpful to add an iris in to make the eyes look more natural. Slightly covering the iris with your eyelid will also relax the look. And don't forget your tear duct. In another part of this series, we are going to cover how you can create a realistic looking eye in Maya, which will be coming soon. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on the channel and turn on the bell notification so that you could be notified when it drops. At this point, Youssef likes to add some placeholders with the eyebrows, colors, and materials. This will help you preview a more natural look and spot mistakes faster during your workflow. Adding some materials to the head and eyes will also make things look more realistic as we keep working. If you want to access these materials for free, check out our website. The link in the description is below. Let's get the mouth smiling now. There are 2 different methods he uses to create the mouth bag. Method 1 is to use the IMM primitive brush, and holding Alt to subtract the mesh, and then dynameshing to remesh the subtraction. If you use this method, make sure the dynamesh is already active before starting. Method 2 is simply just start digging the mouth bag. Here uses a combination with the move brush to pull that mouth bag back, then use the masking tools to help target that area to inflate it. At this point, he has to put back the lips, build back that volume area. Alright, let's start applying the action units here. He starts with the Zygomaticus major, action unit 12, and pulls the corners of the mouth. Don't forget to look at other angles to make sure that you pull them naturally, or you may end up with a creepy smile. Now add some volume to the malar fat because it's getting compressed. Now he adds some simple teeth to help spot if there's any issues or problems with the composition. This is just a general overview of teeth. If you want to know how you can make realistic looking teeth, we'll also be covering that later in this series. While working on any facial expressions, keep in mind that whenever you push a form in a direction, there's always an opposing form moving out. So as we push the fats above the mouth inward here, the malar fat will protrude out more. The nostrils will also rise slightly upward, making them a tad wider because they are getting affected by the mouth's smile. There will also be more compression on the skin around the mouth. Naturally, we'll drop the jaw down next. Youssef makes the mandible and inverts the mask here. Adjust your pivot point to an appropriate location and move the jaw slightly downward. Great, we just applied action units 12, 25, and 26. Another common mistake is having a thin inner mouth. Always make sure you leave some thickness to the inner mouth so the lips would naturally be touching the teeth. How it looks without the inner mouth thickness. And this is how it looks after you add the inner mouth thickness. Alright, now that we have the smile in position, let's focus on the upper face. Move the cheeks upward, which in turn would move the lower eyelids slightly up as well. Because we are compressing the area underneath the eyes, we have to add more volume to the lower eyelid. Remember, when something is pushed, something opposite will be pulled. Here, he adds some wrinkles at the corner of the eyes. The same compression rule is applied here. Great. At this point, we have our expression ready, but it looks awkward because it's symmetrical, so it's time to break that symmetry. You can see that he starts breaking symmetry by taking the whole left side and pushing it inward for some depth. He moves the nose to the right a bit here. Add some extra detail to the left eye to look different. Adjust the malar fat, the directions, wrinkles, moving one eye slightly down. The face still looks rigid and unnatural, so here is where playing more with the pose will help a lot. Rotating the head to the right and the face slightly upward. Don't forget the push and pull rule from earlier too. Any movements you do on the head, you'll also have to adjust the neck muscles for that pose. Here's that final pose. To recap, when you're working on an expressive smile, make sure that you focus on the correct face muscles. As well, touch up on your facial anatomy. Try avoiding the smooth brush, and try to use a low subdivision model to speed up your sculpting process. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of this video series. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up and please leave us a comment below. In the next video of this series, we are going to go deep into likeness features. So make sure you hit the subscribe and turn on your notifications. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.